it does. It does. See, I've been meaning to talk to somebody who actually understood how to make it work and what it actually does. I've watched a ton of videos online and they're, whatever. They don't. The problem with these videos online, now I'll just touch on this briefly, is nobody pipes the audio direct to the computer. They're always listening through a speaker or an external speaker, and then they're picking up the audio from that. Well, it doesn't help. It's not the right way to do it. You need to grab the USB audio codec, send that audio directly through the USB cable and right smack into some kind of recording program, be it, video, OBS, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you can really appreciate it. Because what you're getting is like ambient room reflections and all kinds of stuff. The speaker doesn't do it justice. So I've been a little annoyed with that. I don't hear people do that very often. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I was going to ask you how it suppresses the band noise. Now, I decided I'm going to record this, and I'm going to just post this QSO to YouTube because and what I'll do is I'll forward you a link. Now, I am running, it's not a DAW, but I'm running a virtual RX digital audio processing system I put together. Uses a series of VST plugins. So it's going to sound, it is absolutely dead silent, like scary, terrifyingly silent. I can take an S0 signal, make it sound like it's 20 over. I'm not kidding, with no noise. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So you will hear the audio sounds a little, not exactly what it would be if it was the raw front end, but I'm gonna just grab it anyways, because that's the best damn sounding 101 I think I've ever heard. One of the best, if not the best. And I'm curious, Dave, how long have you had that? Because I talked to a guy, or I was listening to a guy, I can't remember, a while ago when the 101 first came out. He was running a high-end microphone, and I was in shock as to how nice that actually sounded. No external processing, just right into the radio. So they're very capable. Go ahead, and I hope you don't mind. If you don't want me to record it, I'll just kill it. But I'll let you check it out because I got a whole room full of you here. K1GMM.
Yeah, okay, no problem, Steve. I don't mind. That's no problem. I would highly recommend this radio to anybody that can afford it, and even some that may not afford it. And the reason I say that is it's not the kind of radio that you're going to buy and get rid of a year from now. It'll take you that long to learn how to use everything on it, unless you're on the air every day, 7 days a week. Then, of course, the learning curve is shorter. But I've had it for 8 months. I got it on Black Friday last year, and I got a great deal on it from Ham Radio Outlet, and I was real happy with it, and have been ever since. Two of the things that made me buy it, number one, is everybody you talk to has raved about it. The reviews on it had been phenomenal. I got a chance to play with one before I bought it, and I was totally blown away by it. Not having anything like it before, I come from a different place. Guys that have had SDR radios and guys that have had, some of the real expensive ICOM radios, the $5,000 and $10,000 ICOMs, and some of the other stuff that's out there might look at it differently. But I'm coming from a 756 Pro 3, and from a 756 Pro 3, it's like, driving a Volkswagen Beetle and then going out and buying a Lincoln Continental. Okay, so that's the comparison I can give you car-wise. Movie-wise, it's like Gone with the Wind to Top Gun. Okay, there's a big difference. It's amazing. It's a different animal. Now, as far as having been the best 101 you ever heard, my God, man, that's a crazy compliment, but I'll take it. But my goodness, I've heard other 101s on the band, and they sound pretty decent. Your signal there sounds great. I wish I had the ability to record you and play it back, to tell you the truth, Steve. But that's one thing this radio does lack. It will not record and play back a QSO. Not like any other the Pro 3 wouldn't do that either. I don't know of other radio. Mostly the SDRs like you're using, they have that ability, which I wish I had. You know, it'd be kind of cool to play it back to somebody. Say, here, this is what you sound like. The second reason I bought the Yaesu was because of the 3-year warranty. And it's a 3-year transferable warranty. That is to say, if I sold you this radio now after I've had it for 8 months, you would still have the remaining 2 years plus warranty on the radio, because when I spoke to Yaesu about that, they indicate when they get a radio in for repair, they look up the serial number to see when it was sold. They don't care who bought it, where it went, or how often it's been sold or resold. It's guaranteed for 3 years, no questions asked. So, you know, that's a great selling point when you're spending this much money on a radio, knowing how Murphy can sneak up on your butt and cause problems. It kind of made me feel a little warm and fuzzy knowing, well, if something does happen to this radio, the worst case is I'm going to have to spend maybe $100 to ship it somewhere. But that's hopefully that never happens. I am not using any external processing on this radio at all. The parametric equalizer is totally what I used listening to myself, you know, and this microphone. So that's pretty much the way it goes. There is abilities that this radio that I don't use. You had mentioned you don't like clicking a mouse. I don't either. I can use a mouse with this. In fact, I hook one up to it just for woofs and giggles. And, you know, the touch screen is fine. I don't need to use the mouse. I haven't hooked up the external monitor to this radio either. So I can have a TV screen, a 40-inch TV in front of me. I enjoy looking at the monitor that I have. My vision is good enough that I can still see it. So, yeah, that's cool. So, and I think the reason a lot of guys that don't do that correctly on YouTube is because it requires effort. And a lot of these guys that make these videos, although they mean well, they wouldn't have the wherewithal or the effort or the ambition to go crazy, to record it the way you had mentioned. So it's not going to sound, you know, not going to sound any different than what they're hearing out of their speaker. But anyway, I've had it for 8 months. I bought it on Black Friday to answer your question. And, man, oh man, I'm still having fun with it. And it's been 8 months. It's kind of like, you know, when you go out with a girl and she's a great girl. And, you know, 8 months later, you say to yourself, you know what? Is this girl really for me? Yes, this radio is for me. K1 Golf Mike, Whiskey India 2 Queen.
Leaving a little break there in case someone wants to join us. I don't think this is exclusive. Do you, Dave? This isn't an exclusive QSO, is there? If anybody wants to jump in that can hear both of us, please. WI2Q, K1 GMM. Quick statement, then a quick question. I always get this. I always like to ask people that have a rig with 2 independent receivers. Now, I went through quite a period of time where I always looked at like 2 independent receivers as, whatever. I can only listen to one thing at once. But I think once you get a radio, once you have one with 2 independent receivers, I'm speaking only for myself, it's pretty cool, man. I really like it. That's the one thing that I lack on the Sun. You can open up different slices, different receivers, but you cannot transmit on one antenna and listen on the other. It's only a single ADC on the rig. So where the Anon is 2 independent receivers, and that was the first radio really where I was like, wow, this is pretty flippin' cool, man. So I was curious. I don't know. I'd known people with the Pro 3, but I'm not that familiar. I don't know if that had 2 independent receivers, but just curious as to what your thoughts are on that. Regardless of whether it's used as a tool or not, for me, it's something that's really, really convenient, but you don't know until you get it, right? Until you have one. One of those, that at least that's what happened with me, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah, fine business, Steve. Well, the Pro 3 had what they called dual watch. It wasn't really 2 independent receivers, like you can listen to 2 frequencies at the same time. This radio you can, and you can A-B it, B-A-B it, A-B-A-B, B-B-A, B-A-B-A, and whatever, for lack of better ways to put it. But the beauty part of it, I find, and I use it for, I got a schedule on 72 whatever, and I'm on 71 whatever. I can monitor my 72 whatever where the sched is, and if the guy never shows up, I don't have to move. But I can listen to another spot to see what's going on. The other thing is, too, is I can check another band while I'm on this band to see if it's worth going to another band. There have been occasions where I was working the DX station, and obviously if he's working split, it really makes it nice for split operation. The other thing that's cool is if I'm on and he's on the same frequency and we're having a QSO, but there's a lot of interference, and the 5 things I previously mentioned weren't enough to get rid of the problem, I can also turn on the second receiver and slightly tune it away a little bit to try to get away from the QRM. And although he might sound like Donald Duck or Vaughn Monroe, I can still hear him better with the 2 receivers off frequency a little bit. And that's what I use it for. I'm sure there's a lot of other uses for 2 receivers. But that's basically what I use them for. And I find that to be very useful. I never had 2 receivers before except independently or 2 different radios. But the dual receive, it does work out well, and it becomes somewhat of a tool, and you make the best of what it is that you can use it for. Those 2 things I mentioned were where I use it most commonly for Steve, WI2Q.
Yeah, K1GMM. Now, really quick, I'll just hit this quick. Do you still have that hot rod? I just pulled up your QRZ page. That is awesome. Awesome. Looks like you got a tunnel ram on that puppy with a couple very large consumption carburetors, maybe. Just curious. You can comment on that. Do you do a lot of DXing and stuff with that radio? See, I kind of look at that radio. I know it is a Swiss Army knife, right? But I don't do a whole lot of DXing anymore, only because the bands, you got to be up at night. If you're going to play that game, and see, I get up very early in the morning, so I'm trying to shift the schedule. But that was the reason I was looking for it. I wanted to sell one of the radios I have and then pick up a 101, and because I just figured that would be a real weapon for DX. It's a world-class front end. It's actually, I don't pay much attention to Sherwood reports, but I've heard it. Like I said, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. I've talked to guys, and the front end of that thing is just, it's like throwing nitromethane rocket fuel onto, like you said, a Volkswagen Beetle. I mean, it is so starkly different. But the noise, see, I'm all about the signal to noise ratio. Everything I do regarding antennas and receiver modifications, blah, 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 everything's about signal to noise. How much signal or how much audio can I get compared to the noise, you know? And but you got to start out with a decent front end, you know? So I don't know. I was just curious if you work a lot of DX and stuff like that, if you've really put it through its paces yet, as far as that goes. WI2Q K1GMM, Southwest Vermont.
Yeah, WI2Q leaving space. Yeah, fine business, Steve. Well, I'm not a DX hound per se, but I don't turn it down when it's there. I'm not big on DX. I got burnt by the league many years ago, where they lost 271 of my valued QSL cards in 1970s when I was applying for DXCC, and really got discouraged for many years bothering with DX or QSLing. I'm starting to get back into it again because QRZ.com makes it a lot easier to confirm contacts rather than playing with QSL cards. But I'll give you an example. I've been on some DX nets on 40 meters where there was a signal, for an example, a QRP station in Athens, Greece. He's running 20 watts, and the only other guy that heard him besides me on the net was a gentleman who had a three elements on 40, and he gave him an S7. I was copying him about an S1, barely, but pulled him out like he was in the room with me. So
Okay, I'll
I
close
could
it
not
down
do
here.
that. When I
Great
AB'd
QSO.
some DX